All right, friends, it is time to put this baby together. I'm talking about assembling this final project here. Is a nice little graphic to kind of give you an analogy for what I'm looking for. This is where we're going to kind of build this thing together. We've been assembling it, hopefully, over the course of the entire semester. But now's your chance to really kind of put the whole thing together into one presentation. I think this is going to be a great exercise for you folks because we need more and more experts in this world, people that are willing to speak on camera about various scientific topics. So this is a great way to get a little bit of that experience and then show us something that you've learned about your particular topic as it relates to physical science. So I want to go over real briefly how we're going to actually build this together, or how you're going to actually build this, and then I also want to really go into how the grading scheme is going to sort of work in this, and give you a few pointers sort of along the way. All right. So the first thing I want to point out is 25% of your grade is going to depend on the presentation design and quality. So what do I mean when I say that? I'm really looking at how are you laying out your slides? How are you thinking about telling this particular story? Are you giving me 50 slides full of garbage information, or can you boil it down to like 3 or 4 real simple slides? Now remember, there's a good old rule of thumb when it comes to presentations, and that is usually about 1 minute per slide. So if you're thinking about a 5 to 10 minute presentation, what are you thinking about? Maybe 5 to 10 slides in theory. But remember, you have other elements you have to work into this presentation as well too. So really you want to shoot for about 3 or 4 slides that's the big point that you have here. What am I looking for? What do I want to see as an instructor? Well, these 2 pictures we have down here at the bottom of the screen really illustrate bad examples of presentations. The one on the left, too much text, and the text that's there is very difficult to discern from the background. So this is a very, very bad presentation. You can actually see that. I've kind of highlighted this with my arrow. This is not a good slide to use. So you want to try to avoid instances like this. Plus, you're also tempted to read the slides, and that's a bad presentation when that happens here. So try to avoid this. This is another big problem right here. This is one where it's a little bit less text. Yeah, kinda, sorta, I guess. But there's so much that's crammed onto this slide. You have data here. You have visual data here. This is a histogram. You have tabular data right here. There's just so much in here. So this would need to be edited down and cleaned up. Although I will say the one thing I do like about this is that there's little references down here. That's definitely how you want to include your references into your slide. But that's how we want to think about these types of presentations. Really visually thoughtful, minor amounts of text. You want to show that you've practiced your presentation. There's no real errors. There's no spelling errors. There's no need for editing. Another aspect of your grade is going to involve the actual content of your presentation, right? Remember, this is a science course. This is a physical science course. So you have to really lean on the physical science, right? So how do you do that? Well, it's pretty simple. All of your topics should have some sort of a question that's sort of intermingled into it. And this is why we stayed away from topics like volcanoes or hurricanes. Way too general. We want to know something very specific. And so this is your opportunity to pitch that question to your audience and then, of course, answer the question afterwards. Now, remember, the answer has to be supported with references and content from class, right? So we can't just say that the moon is made up of green cheese and then call it a day and expect to see an A on your final grade. That's not going to work. You have to be able to support what you're saying. So why is it made of green cheese? Why do you think it's made of green? We know it's not, but you understand hopefully what I'm saying. So what am I actually looking for? I want specific college-appropriate topics. I want topics that were not put together with artificial intelligence, generative artificial intelligence, right? And there's a way to test for that. We'll be testing every single one of these. I want to make sure that every single one of the claims are supported by content, that there's references throughout the slide. There's one thing that a lot of students will do in their presentations, and at the end of the presentation, they'll put up a reference slide. I don't know why they do that. Nobody sits there and likes to read references like that. You introduce references throughout the presentation, not at the last little bit. Nobody cares about that kind of stuff in the real world. being completely transparent with you. And then obviously it has to clearly relate to the course, right? So if you go off the reservation and start talking about biology, guess what, folks? I'm not a biologist. I can't talk about the human body. I can't talk about insects. I can't present that. I'm not credentialed to do that. So I can't evaluate that. And if I can't evaluate it, guess what? I can't grade it. And if I can't grade it, what happens to your score? 0. See the relationship right there? So this is important, that making sure that you are sticking on top of your content. That will be vitally, vitally important in this class. All right, another aspect is the data. And what is data? It's a visualized representation of information that you can really speak intelligently about. This is about a quarter of your grade. Actually, it is a quarter of your grade. And some ways I like seeing different types of data. I like scatter plots, let's say. I like bar graphs. Sometimes pie charts are really good if you have to, show representative samples that add up to 100%. Pie chart's fantastic for something like that. Sometimes maybe an infographic. And if you don't remember what an infographic is, you can go back into your notes at the beginning of the semester and actually look at what infographics are. We talked very briefly about them. Or what else could you do? You could actually lift an actual piece of data from a study. That would work fine. So you could maybe take a screenshot and put that into your presentation. Or maybe you used a simulator to collect data, right? So maybe you were looking at the time of day that the moon rose over the span of, several years or something. Something like that, right? So you might be able to use something like Stellarium to be able to model that and try and answer some questions about it. So a lot of opportunities to really get some data right here. We want to try and shy away from pictorial data if we can and really get into the representative data. Now, these two examples that we have down here, these are really, really bad examples of plotted data. The one on the left, there's so much information that's in here and so much detail in this bar graph, or in this pie chart, that it is not useful, right? There's not much I can get from something like this. So this would not be a very good presentation right there. It might be relevant, but it might be clearly explained, but the organization and the labeling is just ridiculous. It's not practical. I can't get anything from it. Over here, the one on the right-hand side looks okay, but there's a lot of issues with it, right? So CO2 emissions as a title, that's a really broad title. That's not very specific at all. I also am sort of a stickler about chemical formulas as well, too. So that's being a chemist. CO2, the 2 should be subscripted for whatever that's worth here. Also, we don't know what's going on here along the y-axis. We don't know what's going on the axis that's up and down, right? There's not a, it says percentages, cool, but what are we actually referring to? So we need a lot more information in this sort of a presentation of data right here. So this would not be a very good piece of data to share in your presentation right here. So I'm looking for something that's relevant to your topic, something that is clearly explained, and then it's also neatly organized and labeled. All right, here's another aspect of your project. That's the demonstration and personalization. Yes, the two are going to go hand in hand with each other. So remember, you are responsible for presenting or teaching a very simple concept from your project, right? Doesn't need to be overly in-depth. You just have to show something that's related to your project, right? So if you were doing something on, let's say, Mount Vesuvius's eruption, maybe you want to go show a demonstration of how a volcano works, right? So this might be a good opportunity to do an experiment to show how a volcano works, right? That's a great way. Simulations are oftentimes really, really good. We can talk about those if you have questions about it. But really, when you're thinking about a demonstration, you want to try to teach something that really appeals to the senses. You want something that is going to help people remember your topic for a very long time. That's effective learning right there. If you've got something, if you see something that you remember for the next 20 years, you've learned it. That's a good thing right there, and that's what I want you guys to really harp on here. Come up with a great topic that you can demonstrate to help people learn something about what it is that you're trying to teach them here. I'm going to really tell you folks to stay away from still photography. The reason for this is because Photographs have become so frequently utilized that it is difficult to really get the point across in a photograph. We oftentimes forget that we're looking at a photograph. We just kind of observe it and then move on. That's not what we want in this case. We want something that's going to stick with the viewer here. So unless you and I have specifically talked about this in pretty good detail, I would stay away from still photographs and really get kind of creative about your demonstration. Now, the personalization aspect of this, I need to know that you are you, which sounds a little kind of philosophically deep right there. But the reality of it is that I have students that are online. I have people that are in class. I have hybrid versions of this class. I need to know who you are. That's the only way I can verify identity across the board. And so what this means is that you're going to have to get on camera very briefly, but I need to see you speaking on camera. That's the important point that I'm really looking for in this case. This is one way that we verify you are who you are. Now, when it comes to grading this, I'm going to ask some very simple questions, right? I'm going to ask real quickly, does your demonstration relate to your topic? Should, hopefully. I've spoken with many of you folks about this previously. Does the demo actually work, right? So you want to practice it several times, and if you're going to record it, of course, make sure that it gets recorded on camera while it's working. Make sure that it's creative, right? This is another aspect, something that's going to stick with your viewers. Be nice if there was some sensory appeal that's associated with it, right? So something that appeals to all the different senses. And then, of course, I need to verify who you are. So you need to be in front of the camera at some point. Doesn't have to be during the demonstration, but at some point, I need to see your beautiful faces. That's the important detail that I'm looking for right there. All right, putting this all together, how do you post your project? First, you're going to want to post this once your project is done and you feel like it's edited and it's ready to go, you're going to post it up to YouTube. So you'll actually open up a browser, you'll go to the YouTube website, and you will post your video up to YouTube. You will need a Google account. Google accounts are free, but you will need one, and you'll basically just copy it into, or you'll just drag and drop it onto the YouTube website, and it will upload, and then it will actually process the video as well too. You'll have a whole bunch of different options that you'll have to configure. Now, while your video is being processed, there's a couple things that you're going to need to be made aware of. First of all, you're going to have to make sure that your videos are public. They cannot be private. They cannot be unlisted. I need to be able to find them. That's the important point. If I don't find them, I can't grade them, and if I can't grade them, I can't give you any points for them. So it is critical that your projects are made public. Second of all, you have to have commenting turned on. If I can't comment on your presentation publicly, I can't award points for it. That is a criterion in your actual grade, so be cautious about this. Here's another one. There's an option to add hashtags to this, right? So what I'm asking you folks to do is to tag this project by calling it PHS111 project. So you'll actually signify that, of course, with a hashtag. You do this on YouTube. You're welcome to add any additional tags that you want. You're welcome to connect this to any social media that you want, but that is bare minimum. These are the things that I'm looking for. And then once everything is uploaded and the video has been processed and you're happy with it and things are great, you're going to go to the Blackboard website, scroll down the page. Under Final Project, there's a little folder down there that says Final Project. Under that folder, there's a little link that says Submit Your Final Project. You're going to click that. That's going to bring you to a Google form. And on that Google form, what you're going to do is just fill out some basic information. So tell me your name, tell me your project title, and your email address. So I have a way of knowing who you are and how to contact you. I want you to link or add the link from your YouTube video into the Google form. So there'll be a little box to do that. I want you to tell me a real brief summary about your project. 1 or 2 sentences. What is your project about? That's it. Real simple, straightforward. And then finally, tell me in 1 or 2 sentences, what did you learn from your project? What's something that really jumped out at you? I'm always really interested to see what students come up with. What did they actually tell me about their final projects here? Now, I will tell you folks, the plan is to give you all awards, or give out awards, not to everybody, but to give out awards in several categories. So like we'll have the best overall award. We'll have the most creative award, right? So really get that creativity going. Future Scientist Award. So I'm reserving this for people that just do an exceptionally good job at explaining their data. So of course, you want to make sure that you've got good practice in that. The Budding Educator Award. I love this one. Maybe we'll call it the Fledgling Educator Award. This is for people that have great demonstrations to illustrate a point of their presentation right there. And then finally, we'll have a Viewer's Choice Award. And yes, that means that we'll have multiple people looking at your presentations, and they're going to tell me which ones are the best. Which ones do you like the best? Which ones really jumped out? Which ones were just phenomenal? And so we'll actually announce those after finals, probably in January. So when I'm sorry, it depends on what year you're actually, or what semester you're in right now, but probably at the end of the semester, maybe even into the semester after, we'll actually announce who the winners are, and we'll get you a small prize or something like that. So I want to leave you folks with just a couple frequently asked questions here. The ones in blue are about the requirements. So some people will ask, and they have asked in the past, do I really need to be on camera? Yes, you do. That's the only way that I can verify. It's the only fair way that I can verify who's who in the class. So please be on camera. It doesn't have to be for very long. 5-10 seconds. Make sure that you're talking on your camera, you're explaining something, and that should that's perfectly reasonable right there. I've had some students that have pointed out that they're very nervous about sharing their stuff on social media. YouTube is technically social media. Do they really have to post it? Yes, and you have to make it public. That is a requirement in this class. So once the grades are in and everything's done, you want to pull it down and destroy it, perfectly fine. I don't have a problem with that. But for grading purposes, we're going to have a mini science fair. So this is a great way to share that information. Am I really going to promote the project? Yes, I'm going to be promoting the project. Our media relations department is very interested in what you've done, and so we want to share those links with them so that they can share some stories about what CAC students are currently doing in the classroom. So this is a great opportunity not only to showcase the work that you have done, but also to talk a little bit about what CAC students are doing, what makes CAC so special. A couple questions about putting it all together in green. How do I prepare for my presentation? Personally, I wrote a script for mine, and I just read my script as I was, I rehearsed it several times and then kind of referred to it as I was recording mine. So practicing is big. Writing out the script is big because it helps you organize your thoughts. Of course, if you've written a first draft of your paper, you basically already have a script ready to go. So that's kind of nice how that works. Editing can also help too. So if you're good at video editing, you can clean up mistakes as they come up, and that's one of the things that I do. I spend a lot of time as an educator doing that, but it's a skill you have to know how to do these days. And keep in mind, there are several editing options that are out there too. Another question I get from students a lot: how do I record or edit my video? I've put a list up on Blackboard. Some of the things that I like, some of the forms of software that I like to use, and ones that people have used in the past, including there's some demonstrations on how to use TikTok to actually put all of this together too. So there's a lot of great opportunities you can do, or a lot of opportunities out there to really put this all together. Normally, when I'll just be honest with you, I use QuickTime to do a lot of my screen recording. So I'm actually recording this right now on QuickTime, and then I'll use iMovie to edit. So I take my QuickTime recording, I dump it into iMovie, and then I can cut it up and make edits and transitions and all that kind of stuff. So that's how I do it. If you want to do it in one take, that's perfectly fine. But keep in mind, you run the risk. If you make a mistake, you run the risk of having points deducted. So you want to be very cautious about putting it all together here. And then finally, how do I make an A? Very simple. Just stick to the grading rubric. That's all you have to do. That's how I'm going to be evaluating you anyways. So that's the reference point right there. If it's not on the grading rubric, it's probably not important. But if it is on the grading rubric, then it's vitally important. Make sure that you have it. So that's how I'll be evaluating all of your projects. So with that said, I wish you all really good luck on your projects. This is one of my favorite times of year to see what you all put together. You've heard me talking all semester long. Now it's time to see what you guys can produce and show me what you learned this semester. I imagine you learned a lot, and this is a great, great opportunity to do that. So looking forward to seeing what y'all put together. We'll see y'all